The morning sun slants through my garden, warm and golden, but it doesn't reach the chill settling into my bones. I'm elbow deep in soil, the damp earth clinging to my gloves like a second skin, as I cradle the Queen Elizabeth roses Aunt Lillian gave me 2 weeks ago. My 32nd birthday. Her eyes twinkled then, that sly mischief I've loved since I was a kid, as she pressed the potted blooms into my hands. "These have been in our family forever, Sienna," she'd said, her voice low and teasing. "Just like secrets." I'd laughed, thinking it was another of her cryptic quips. Now the roses feel heavier, their pink petals trembling in the breeze as I tuck their roots into the ground. My phone buzzes against my hip, once, twice, 3 times, insistent as a heartbeat. I ignore it at first. Dirt's my sanctuary today, but it won't quit. With a sigh, I peel off a glove, smearing soil across my cheek as I fish the thing out. The screen glows. Unknown number. My thumb hovers, then presses. "Hello?" I say, voice rough from disuse. "Miss Ortiz, this is Thomas Carter, your Aunt Lillian's attorney." His tone is formal, clipped, like he's reading from a script. "I'm afraid I have difficult news." My breath catches, sharp and sudden. The roses slip from my hand, hitting the dirt with a soft thud. "What happened?" I manage, though I already know. The air shifts, heavier now, thick with the scent of soil and blooms. Like her perfume, roses and vanilla, ghosting around me. "She passed away last night," Carter says, pausing as if testing my silence. "In her sleep. I'm sorry for your loss." The world tilts. Lillian. Gone. The woman who taught me to read, her finger tracing words in old books, who sneaked me chocolate chip cookies at dreary family dinners while the adults droned on, who believed in every wild dream I ever whispered to her. My knees buckle, and I sink into the soil, the cool dampness seeping through my jeans. The roses stare up at me, fragile and accusing. Her last gift. "She left explicit instructions," Carter continues, his voice cutting through the haze. "I was to contact you first, before anyone else in the family." First? My heart stumbles. Not Dad, her brother, or my cousins who've circled her wealth like vultures for years. Me. "Why?" I ask, barely a whisper. "She didn't say." Another pause, longer this time. "But she left arrangements, funeral details, a letter for you. Can you come to my office today?" I look down at the roses, their roots half buried, petals catching the light. 2 weeks ago, she'd stood right here, grinning like she knew something I didn't. Now she's gone, and I'm clutching her flowers like they'll tell me what's next. "I'll be there in an hour," I say, voice cracking as I hang up. The phone slips into my pocket, and I press my hands into the dirt, grounding myself. Lillian's voice echoes in my head, just like secrets, and I wonder what she's left me besides these blooms. Whatever it is, it's already heavier than the soil, staining my fingers. The drive to Thomas Carter's office blurs past in a haze of stoplights and honking horns, but I barely register it. My hands grip the steering wheel, still smudged with garden dirt, the scent of roses clinging to my skin like a stubborn memory. His building looms downtown, all glass and steel, the kind of place that screams old money and older secrets. I step into the lobby, the air cool and sharp with polish, and take the elevator to the 10th floor. When the doors slide open, I'm hit with dark wood paneling and the faint musk of leather-bound books, a world Aunt Lillian navigated with ease, but one that always made me feel like an intruder. Carter stands as I enter his office, a tall man with silver at his temples and a smile that's sympathetic but tight, like it's been rehearsed. "Miss Ortiz, thank you for coming so quickly," he says, gesturing to a plush leather chair across from his desk. The city skyline sprawls beyond the window, a view that probably costs more than my rent for a year. I sit, the leather creaking under me, and try not to fidget as he settles back into his chair. "I still can't believe she's gone," I say, more to fill the silence than anything else. My voice sounds small, swallowed by the room. She was an unusual woman, Carter replies, his tone careful, measured. Brilliant in business, but particular about how things should be done, especially in death. He reaches into a drawer and pulls out two envelopes. One's thick, official-looking, stamped with his firm's letterhead. The other's smaller, cream-colored, with my name, Sienna, scrawled in Lillian's elegant looping script. I catch a whiff of her perfume as he slides it across the desk. Roses and vanilla, sharp and alive. My chest tightens. She wanted you to read this privately first, Carter says, tapping the cream envelope. Then, we'll discuss the rest. My hands tremble as I pick it up, the paper smooth and cool against my fingertips. I break the seal carefully, unfolding a single sheet of her personal stationery. Her words leap out, steady and warm, with that wry edge I loved. My dearest Sienna, if you're reading this, my time's up. Don't be sad. I've lived exactly the life I wanted, which is more than most can say. But I need one last favor, my darling niece. At my funeral, you'll read a letter, one that'll change our family forever. You'll find it in the hidden compartment of my jewelry box, the one I showed you when you were 12. Remember the trick with the rose carving? Some might call this revenge, but I prefer justice. Long delayed, perhaps, but justice nonetheless. The truth is, I've left everything to you. Hayes Enterprises, my personal assets, all of it. One condition, you read that letter at my funeral, with the whole family there. No exceptions. I know it's a lot, especially now. But you're the strong one, Sienna. The honest one. That's why it has to be you. All my love, Aunt Lillian. P.S. Don't let them bury me in anything beige. You know how I feel about beige. I read it twice, her voice ringing in my ears, teasing, resolute, trusting. My throat burns. She left everything to me? I look up at Carter, dazed. He nods, opening the official envelope. Hayes Enterprises, her estate, investment portfolios, approximately $89 million in total assets. But as she wrote, it's conditional on fulfilling her request. 89 million. The number slams into me, unreal, like something from a dream I didn't ask for. What about Dad, Emily and Nathan? My father's resented Lillian's success forever. My cousins have spent years kissing up, expecting a payout. Small bequests for them, Carter says, flipping a page. The bulk is yours, if you agree to her terms. I clutch the letter, her perfume lingering like a ghost. Lillian's terms, funeral, letter, family. What secret's worth this? I see her 2 weeks ago, handing me those roses, her grin hinting at something big. When's the funeral? I ask, voice steadier than I feel. 3 days, St. Peter's Cathedral, then a reception at her estate. The family's expected. Carter's eyes soften, just a fraction. She believed in you, Miss Ortiz. I stand, letter in hand, the weight of her trust sinking deeper. Then I've got a jewelry box to find, I say, heading for the door. $89 million, a letter, a truth. I don't know what's heavier, but I'll carry it for her. The 40-minute drive to Aunt Lillian's estate feels like hours, the road stretching endlessly beneath a sky too bright for the ache in my chest. Her rose's scent still clings to my hands, mingling with the leather of my steering wheel, a stubborn reminder of this morning's planting, and her absence. The gates swing open as I approach, automatic and silent, triggered by the code she gave me years ago. I trust you more than my security system, Sienna, she'd said then, her grin sharp and knowing. Now, that trust pulls me forward, past manicured lawns where roses climb every trellis, their blooms a riot of reds and pinks against the Victorian mansion's gray stone. Margaret Evans, Lillian's housekeeper, waits at the door, her eyes red-rimmed and puffy. She's 62, sturdy in her apron, but today she looks fragile, like a rose past its prime. "Oh, Miss Sienna, I'm so glad you're here," she says, voice cracking as she steps aside. "She left Instructions. You've got full access to her rooms. I nod, squeezing her hand briefly, the warmth of her skin a small comfort against the cold knot in my gut. Thank you, Margaret. I won't be long, I reply, heading for the stairs. Lillian's bedroom sits on the second floor, overlooking her prize rose garden, a view she'd tended like a painter with a canvas. The room greets me with her signature mix of elegance and whimsy. Silk curtains in bold patterns sway gently. Modern art jostles against faded family portraits, and roses spill over every surface in vases and paintings. It's her, alive in every detail, and for a moment, I can almost hear her laugh, that low, mischievous sound that lit up dreary days. The jewelry box waits on her dresser, Brazilian rosewood gleaming under the soft light, its floral carvings intricate and familiar. I run my fingers along the edge, tracing the small rose that hides the secret compartment. Third petal from the left, I remember, her voice clear as a bell from when I was 12. Press here, Sienna, and don't tell a soul. A soft click breaks the silence, and the bottom panel slides open. Inside lies an envelope, wax-sealed and heavier than it should be, marked in her elegant script, to be read at my funeral. My hand shakes as I lift it, the weight suggesting photographs or papers tucked within. For a heartbeat, I'm tempted to tear it open right here to peel back whatever truth she's hidden, but I stop. Lillian had a purpose for everything, her plans layered like the petals of her roses. If she wanted this read at her funeral in front of everyone, there's a reason, and I won't betray that now. I slip the envelope into my bag, its presence a quiet pressure against my hip. Turning, I catch sight of something new on her bedside table. A framed photo I've never seen. It's a young Lillian, maybe 30, standing outside Hayes Enterprises' first office, a modest brick building dwarfed by her radiant smile. She's got that knowing look, the one that always made me feel she saw through people's masks. "What did you hide, Aunt Lillian?" I whisper to the image, my breath fogging the glass. The roses outside sway in the breeze, their scent drifting through the cracked window. And I wonder if they know, if they've been guarding her secrets all along. 3 days stretch ahead, a countdown to whatever she's orchestrated, and I feel her trust settling deeper. A weight I'm only beginning to understand. I step back, taking one last look around. The room feels alive, pulsing with her essence, silk and roses, art and memory. Whatever's in that envelope, it's more than paper. It's her final act, her last bloom. I head for the door, the photo's smile lingering in my mind, a promise and a challenge. "I'll do this your way," I murmur, the words half prayer, half vow as I leave her sanctuary behind. The next 3 days blur into a storm of phone calls and family drama, each hour tightening the knot in my chest. I'm at home, pacing my small living room, the sealed envelope a constant weight in my bag on the couch. Dad, Daniel Ortiz, 58 and bristling with nerves, calls 6 times, his voice swinging between fake concern and barely veiled panic. "Sienna, you're handling too much. What's Carter saying about the will?" He presses during one call, his tone sharp. My cousins, Emily and Nathan, bombard me with texts. Emily's sugary, "How you holding up, cuz?" and Nathan's blunt, "Any word on the estate?" Their greed seeps through every word, and I mute them, letting Lillian's roses on my windowsill steady me with their quiet scent. The morning of the funeral dawns crisp and clear, sunlight spilling over the Queen Elizabeth blooms I planted days ago. I dress carefully in Lillian's favorite deep blue, the suit hugging me like a shield, and pin one of her roses to my lapel, its petals soft against the fabric, its fragrance a whisper of her strength. The envelope feels heavy as I tuck my bag under my arm, heavier than the $89 million Carter promised, heavier than Dad's resentment or my cousin's schemes. I drive to St. Peter's Cathedral, the city fading into a hum, my mind replaying Lillian's letter. Justice, not revenge. What justice needs a stage like this? The cathedral's packed by the time I arrive, pews brimming with family, business suits, and city bigwigs. Lillian was old money and a philanthropist, a name that drew crowds. Dad intercepts me at the entrance, his face tight, eyes darting. "Sienna, we need to talk about the will," he says, grabbing my arm as I try to pass. "Carter won't tell us anything, says it's after the service. What's going on?" His grip's firm, desperate, and I meet his gaze, steady despite the tremor in my hands. "We'll all find out together, Dad," I say quietly, pulling free. That's what Lillian wanted. He flinches, mouth opening, but I add, "Let go. This is her funeral. Show some respect." He steps back, deflated, and I move past, the rose on my lapel brushing my cheek like her touch. Inside, the air's thick with rose scent. Deep reds and vibrant pinks line the altar, a riot of color she'd have loved. No beige in sight. I take my place near the front, bag at my feet, and feel the weight of hundreds of eyes. Emily and Nathan in the second row, leaning forward like hawks, Dad beside them, his jaw clenched. The service begins, the minister's voice weaving through Lillian's life, her generosity, her brilliance, her fight for a better world. It's beautiful, exactly her, and I clutch the envelope tighter, its wax seal pressing into my palm. Thomas Carter catches my eye from the front pew, his nod slight but firm. It's time. My legs shake as I stand, the cathedral falling silent, every rustle swallowed by anticipation. I step to the podium, the envelope trembling in my hands, its weight no longer just paper, but promise. Lillian's promise. I breathe in the rose's perfume, feeling her beside me, her strength curling around my spine. Whatever's inside, I'll carry it for her, just as she carried it for decades. The family watches, hungry and tense, and I know this moment's hers as much as mine. I stand at the podium in St. Peter's Cathedral, the silence pressing against me like a living thing, thick and expectant. The envelope trembles in my hands, its wax seal glinting under the stained glass light, and I breathe in the heavy scent of roses, reds and pinks spilling over the altar, a defiant burst of Lillian's spirit. Hundreds of eyes bore into me, Dad's tight-lipped anxiety in the front row, Emily and Nathan's eager leans beside him, and beyond, a sea of suits and mourners, waiting for whatever I'll say. My fingers hesitate over the seal, the weight of Lillian's trust anchoring me, and I feel her here, her sly grin, her steady hand nudging me forward. I break the wax slowly, the crack loud in the hush, and pull out several sheets of paper, photographs slipping free with them. "Before she died," I begin, my voice steady despite the racing pulse in my throat. "My Aunt Lillian left me a letter with specific instructions. She wanted it read here, today, in front of everyone who knew her." I unfold the pages, her elegant script spilling across them, and a photo flutters to the podium. A young Lillian beside a man I don't recognize, both smiling, holding blueprints. Another shows him at a construction site, the early bones of Hayes Enterprises rising behind him. I lift the letter, and her words fill the space, sharp and alive. "My name was Lillian Hayes," I read, letting her voice take over. "And this is the truth about how Hayes Enterprises began." The man in these photographs is James Bennett, a brilliant engineer and my business partner in 1975. He was also the true founder of what became Hayes Enterprises. A murmur ripples through the pews, soft but growing, and I glance at Dad. His face drains to chalk, eyes wide. I keep going, her words pulling me like a current. "We met at university, shared a vision of sustainable building materials to change the industry. James had the genius. I had the business sense. Together, we built the foundation, equal partners, splitting everything 50-50, patents, profits, the company itself." I hold up another photo, Lillian and James shaking hands over a contract, their smiles bright with promise. "Until the night of October 15th, 1976, I continue, when James died in what was reported as a car accident. Dad lurches to his feet, his face twisting, but Uncle Paul pulls him back down, whispering fiercely. The cathedral hums with tension, and I press on, my voice rising. But it wasn't an accident. The brake lines in James's car were cut. I found out too late, after the police closed the case. And then I discovered something else. Papers filed hours before his death, transferring his entire share to the Hayes family trust. Papers with his signature. I meet Dad's eyes, cold and deliberate, and the next words hit like stones. A signature I now know was forged by his business partner at the time, my own brother, Daniel Ortiz. The cathedral erupts, gasps and whispers colliding, a wave of shock breaking over the pews. Dad's on his feet again, red-faced, shouting, "Stop this immediately, Sienna, this is slander." His voice cracks, raw and desperate, but I don't flinch. "No, Dad," I say, calm and firm, cutting through the chaos. "This is truth. Lillian left proof." I lift a stack of documents from the envelope, yellowed originals of their contract, forensic reports on the forgery, buried police files, bank transfers tracing the money. She kept everything. Emily's mouth hangs open. Nathan stares at Dad like he's seeing a stranger. A voice, Nathan's, cuts through, shaky with horror. "Why? Why reveal this now?" I turn back to the letter, Lillian's answer waiting. "I'm revealing this now because I've spent 45 years building this company into something James would have been proud of," I read, her tone steady, resolute. "I've used our success to fund research, support sustainable development, create opportunities for minds like his, but I've also spent 45 years watching my brother profit from his crime, watching him raise his children to believe privilege puts them above the law." Dad sinks back into his seat, all fight draining out, his hands trembling in his lap. Her words keep coming, heavy with regret and purpose. I should have come forward years ago, but by the time I had the evidence, Hayes Enterprises employed thousands. Going public then would have destroyed not just Daniel, but countless innocent families who relied on it. So I waited, built, made sure the company could survive the truth when it came. I pull out one last document, a faded envelope addressed to James Bennett's daughter, Sarah, and my breath catches as Lillian's confession deepens. "This brings me to my final secret," I read, voice growing stronger. "Over the years, I've tracked James's daughter, Rachel Bennett. I've anonymously funded her education, her research, her work in sustainable engineering. Watched her become the brilliant, ethical scientist her father was. She runs a leading green tech firm now, never knowing who backed her." More gasps fill the air, and a woman stands from the middle pews, about my age, 33, with dark eyes like James's, her face tight with dawning realization. Rachel Bennett. Lillian planned this, ensured she'd be here. "The second part of my will," I continue, "leaves a 30% share of Hayes Enterprises to Rachel Bennett, as partial restitution for what was stolen from her father. The controlling interest goes to my niece Sienna, the only Hayes who's shown the ethics and innovation James and I once shared." I lower the letter, signed Lillian Hayes, co-founder of Hayes Enterprises, and keeper of its greatest shame, and the silence that follows is deafening, a void swallowing every breath. Rachel steps forward, her shoes clicking on the stone floor, and stops before Dad. He's aged decades in minutes, hunched and small. "All these years," she says, voice quivering, "I thought my father was a failure who gave up. I never knew, never imagined." Her eyes meet mine, glistening, and I step down from the podium, the letter still warm in my hands. "Ms. Bennett," I say softly, "I'm so sorry for what was taken from you." She nods, tears spilling over, and whispers, "Thank you for reading that. Your aunt, she was watching over me my whole life, wasn't she?" "She was trying to make it right," I reply, my throat tight. "In her own way." The congregation stirs, voices rising, some demanding silence, others justice, but Rachel and I stand still, bound by Lillian's words. Dad vanishes as the service ends, slipping out like a shadow, and I don't chase him. The reception looms, a tense aftermath, but here, with Rachel, I feel Lillian's justice blooming at last. She'd waited 45 years, her roses guarding the truth, and now it's ours, mine and Rachel's, to carry. The cathedral empties slowly, but I linger, the photos and papers heavy in my bag, Lillian's wry note echoing in my mind. Justice, not revenge. She'd turned a lie into something good, and, as Rachel squeezes my hand, I know we'll do the same. The roses around us glow, witnesses to her final act, and I swear I hear her laugh. Soft, triumphant, free. A year has passed since Lillian's funeral, and I stand in her rose garden, mine now, under a sky streaked with gold as the sun dips low. The Queen Elizabeth roses bloom fiercer than ever, their petals a vivid pink against the dusk, climbing trellises and spilling over the earth she loved. I'm 33 now, older in ways that numbers can't measure, and the weight of her legacy has settled into something I can carry. Not just the $89 million or Hayes Enterprises, but the truth she planted in me. The company's headquarters glints in the distance, a beacon of glass and steel, and I smile, knowing it's ours, mine and Rachel's, built on honesty at last. Rachel Bennett joins me, her dark hair catching the fading light as she steps through the garden gate. She's 34, steady and brilliant, and our weekly meetings here have become a ritual, part business, part sanctuary. She brushes a rose with her fingertips, her touch gentle, and says, "You know what's strange, Sienna? I always felt like someone was looking out for me, guiding my career from afar. I thought it was my father's spirit. Now I know it was Lillian." Her voice is soft, tinged with wonder, and I nod, the scent of roses wrapping around us like a memory. "She tried to protect everyone," I reply, my gaze drifting over the blooms. "The company, its people, you, even Dad in her way. She just couldn't let the truth die with her." Rachel's eyes meet mine, dark like James's in those old photos, and I see the gratitude there, the quiet strength Lillian nurtured from a distance. We've spent this year rebuilding Hayes Enterprises together, her technical genius meshing with my commitment to Lillian's vision, turning a legacy of fraud into a force for good. It hasn't been easy. The truth went public after the funeral, shaking the company's foundations. But Lillian was right. It was strong enough to survive. Rachel nods thoughtfully, plucking a petal and twirling it between her fingers. "Do you think she made the right choice, waiting all those years?" she asks, her question hanging in the air like the evening's first stars. I pause, considering it, my hand resting on a rose Lillian gave me, the one I planted that last day. "I think she did the best she could with an impossible mess," I say finally. "She turned a lie into something real, made sure you were taken care of, and in the end, she let the truth out on her terms." "And you?" Rachel presses, her gaze sharp but kind. "Do you ever regret being the one to read that letter?" I look out over the garden, the roses glowing in the twilight, and I see Lillian's knowing smile, the one that always cut through pretense, the one that chose me. "No," I answer, my voice firm. "She picked me because she knew I could handle it. Knew I'd see that doing the right thing sometimes means facing ugly truths." Rachel squeezes my hand, a silent agreement. And I feel the past year's struggles, the family's splintering, Dad's retreat to rehab, fade into something manageable, something healed. Later that evening, I sit in Lillian's study, my study now, the air thick with rose scent drifting from the open window. Company reports litter the desk, a mix of numbers and plans for sustainable projects Rachel and I have launched. I'm flipping through her old desk calendar when a small note slips free, dated the day she died, written in her elegant hand. My breath catches as I unfold it, her words leaping out. "Dearest Sienna, if you're reading this, you've done what I asked. Face the truth with grace. That's why I chose you, not just to inherit, but to make it better than I did, to build what James and I dreamed. The roses will bloom again next spring. When they do, remember beauty can grow from dark soil if we're brave enough to plant it. All my love, Lillian. I place the note in my drawer, its edges worn but precious, and lean back, the garden's golden hues painting the room. Tomorrow brings meetings, decisions, the endless work of running a multi-million-dollar company. But tonight, I linger in the quiet, surrounded by her presence. Lillian left me more than wealth. She gave me a chance to right a wrong, to build something true. I touch the rose on my lapel, its petals dry now, but still hers, and know she's watching. That sly grin, proud, her final secret, bloomed at last. Rachel's words echo in my mind. Both our fathers would like that. And I think of new traditions. Truth over secrets, partnership over power. The roses outside rustle, a soft chorus, and I whisper to them, "We're doing it, Lillian. Together." The weight I carry isn't money or shame. It's the grace to heal, to grow. And as the sun sets, I rest in that, ready for whatever comes next.